is really a big deal in a third world country. So I started going on more mission trips to third world countries with various mission organizations and churches and things like that.
So India was the first?
India was the first.
How did that happen that you ended up going to India?
There's a mission organization called Tom Cox Ministry, and one of their representatives came and spoke at the church trying to recruit a nurse that was going to she came for the purpose of recruiting that nurse, and she ended up recruiting me instead. So that's how that happened. So I went to India with Tom Cox Ministry. Most of my trips over the years have been with Tom Cox Ministry. So I started going on trips and quickly realized that I couldn't scratch the surface on meeting the need, because it's just tens of millions of people need eye care. So I started trying to recruit other eye doctors with almost no success.
So, and just for the benefit of those who may not know you,
right.
Your background is in optometry.
Yeah, right. I'm an optometrist. Spent 5 years in the Air Force as an optometrist, and then opened Carolina Eye Care in 1977 here in Denver, and ran Carolina Eye Care until 2009, and sold out to my partners and worked for them until 2015.
Yeah, and served in the state Senate here in North Carolina for several years.
From 2013 to 2018, I served in the state Senate, representing Lincoln and Iredell counties.
Right. Okay.
So I tried to recruit eye doctors with no success. So got pretty frustrated about that, and so I said, well, if I can't recruit any eye doctors, I'll just train some. So I created a one-day seminar called Eye Doc in a Box, which is an 8-hour seminar designed to train laymen how to do eye clinics in third world countries. Because all I can do on a mission trip out in a village under a tree is prescribe glasses and treat acute infections. And I can train a layman to do that in 8 hours. So created this seminar, did my first seminar in 2003, and really struggled getting that off the ground, because trying to make people understand that I could train a layman to do an eye clinic in 8 hours just didn't pass the smell test. That just doesn't seem possible.
So it's not like they're being trained to go in and do eye exams as far as looking in the eye or anything like that.
They look in the eye with a flashlight.
Right.
They don't touch the eye.
Right. Yeah.
And you prescribe glasses doing something called a refraction, which is determining what prescription lens the patient needs to focus the light on the back of the eye.
Right.
And so that's what I can train you to do in 8 hours.
Right.
So sent out like 500 letters to 500 different churches and got almost no response. I don't think my letters made it past the church secretary's trash can.
Yeah.
Because they've been instructed to get rid of junk mail, and my letter was not solicited, so therefore they called it junk mail.
Yeah.
So I had about 8 people, I think, at that first seminar. One of them was a pharmacist named John Early from Georgia. And when they got the letter at his church, he was given the letter and he stuck it in a drawer and forgot about it. And then woke up one night and thought about it and got up and read the letter and called me. And
hopefully not at 3 in the morning.
No,
okay.
Next day. So he came up and took the seminar in 2003. And since then, he's been going to some of the former Soviet Union states every year. And he's probably led teams that have probably seen 100,000 patients.
Right.
So it doesn't take that many people to achieve what I want to achieve.
Yeah. So talking about the smell test thing of that, it kind of made me think of a question that I think would be interesting to hear you respond to. They're obviously not doing anything that would jeopardize the current health of the patient or anything. They're just trying to find out what lenses they can put in some frames that will help improve their sight.
Exactly.
But I know that I think you've shared with me that there's been times when maybe even our church has gone on some mission trips to some rural areas that are facing a lot of poverty, and maybe people that don't have good health care or good eye care. And maybe there's been some situations where that has not been allowed in those communities.
Right. I've had two situations where that became an issue. I went on a mission trip to one of the Caribbean islands, and the pastor there assured me that he had gone through all the process to get me approved to do eye exams in that country. When I got there, we went to the Ministry of Health, and they said, well, he has gone through all the steps except the very last step. And the very last step is you have to meet with all the eye doctors on the island in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And get their approval.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't think so. I'm going to be here for a week.
Yeah.
And so that was just a financial issue. The local eye doctors didn't want any competition. They wanted to sell glasses to everybody on the island.
Yeah.
And so I just saw a few patients in the hotel I was staying and then came home.
Yeah, that would be an insurmountable hurdle to think that somehow every eye doctor would agree to doing that.
To do it. So, but everywhere else, I've never even been asked to show my credentials. I used to take all my licenses and everything, but in most third world countries, if you're there helping the people, especially, you can really do no harm.
Has it been an issue in the States at all, trying to?
Technically, I'm only licensed in North Carolina, so technically I can only examine patients in North Carolina. But I don't think it would be an issue if I did not charge.
Right.
That's what I tell my students. They want to go out to on an Indian reservation or something like that. And I say, technically you can't do it, but I just cannot imagine you getting in trouble for doing it. Worst case, they say, don't do this anymore. A cease and desist order would be the worst case scenario.
Right.
So it's never been an issue with any of my students. So I started doing the seminar, traveling around the country, teaching the seminar to groups that want to go to third world countries to do eye clinics. So now I've trained about 2,000 laymen, and I'm confident they have seen more than 1.5 million patients.
Wow.
It's probably closer to 2 million because I lose track of them after a while.
Right.
But just like that John Early, last year he led 2 teams to Moldova, and they saw like 3,000 patients in a 2-week period. They went, 2 teams went to a different village every day. So they did 2 eye exams a day for 12 days. So they did 24 eye exams.
Yeah. 24 sets of eye exams.
Separate eye exams in 24 separate locations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you're saying they had clinics, but they may have had dozens of people coming
oh yeah, sure. At each clinic
yeah.
they had exactly.
Yeah.
They exactly. So,
right.
So now I have been on 57 mission trips and treated about 55,000 patients personally.
So I know the answer to this, but I want people to hear you talk about this. Is your goal just to correct people's eye vision? Is this just a humanitarian effort, or is there more to it than that?
Oh, there's a lot more to it than that. I have discovered that a lot of so-called medical mission trips are in fact humanitarian trips. Their focus is on medical care, and the evangelism part is kind of an afterthought. I pretty much insist that every patient I examine get presented with the gospel and get an opportunity to become a Christian. So I have an exam form that I use that gets the patient's name and address and everything. I see the patient, write the prescription on the exam form. It goes to the optical area where they're given their glasses. Then it goes to the counseling area where they're given an opportunity to become a Christian. And the counselor puts the results of the counseling on the form. And then the form is given to the local missionary or local pastor to do follow-up with the patients. So that's kind of the system that we typically use.
Right. I mean, if we help someone with a physical problem in this life, and we fail to help them with their biggest problem, we have failed.
Right. It's a very short-term fix. I mean, glasses are better than medical care, because often in medical care they give them aspirin for 10 days for headaches, and then 10 days is over. The glasses should last a year or two, so a lot longer than medical treatment, but still in the big picture 2 years is not very long at all.
Yeah.
And so so the evangelism is the focus. I try really hard to make all my trips true medical mission trips, where the medical care is just a tool to demonstrate the love of God to the patient in a very, very dramatic, tangible way. and make them more responsive to the gospel.
Yeah. I heard a pastor say one time that we go on a trip and all we do is ministry. It's not a mission trip, it's a ministry trip.
Right, right.
And he said, if we're going to do mission, we got to be sharing the gospel.
Right.
So
Yeah, I would agree with that. So
yeah.
I really stress that in my seminars, and hopefully all of my students, do what I ask them to do.
Right. Right. So have you ever had any, and I've never heard you talk about this, but have you ever had any situations come up where maybe it was a little tense or unnerving with maybe?
Not in the eye clinic. Sometimes I do get a little bit nervous when we're doing a joint medical clinic eye clinic in the same building, and the medical clinic's passing out medications like candy. I'm thinking, man, what if one of these patients goes into anaphylactic shock and dies right here in the clinic?
Yeah.
That's not going to create goodwill for the local Christian community.
Yeah, yeah.
And because they have no idea about the patient history, what they're allergic to,
Yeah.
all this sort of stuff. So, but that's never happened, thankfully. But there's just no way, in my opinion, an eye clinic can do any damage to the patient. If they totally mess up the refraction and give the patient the wrong glasses, then let's stop wearing them.
I mean, you're not even giving out aspirin.
I'm giving out antibiotics.
Oh, okay.
The patient
Okay.
hasn't.
Okay. But the people you train, they're not doing any of that.
Yeah, they're giving antibiotics.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
if I train them to recognize an acute eye infection,
Right.
give the patient
Okay.
antibiotics.
Gotcha.
And if the patient's allergic to the antibiotic, it'll cause their eye to itch, and they'll stop using the drops.
Right.
So worst case, they'll get an itchy eye. So no
Yeah.
way in the world they can do any damage. The only way that I figured out that they can do some damage when they're putting the glasses on the patient is if the temple of the patient's eye.
Yeah.
That would be bad. But
Yeah.
other than that, there's no way you can do damage
Right.
doing the eye clinic that I train laymen how to do.
Right.
There's just not a problem.
Yeah.
And so they'll either be neutral or do a really positive thing for the patient.
Yeah.
Every patient that we see.
Yeah. I can't remember which trip it was that you were on, but you sent me some pictures back, and I don't know, maybe about a year ago. And I know you were in a room and they were doing the eye exams, but you could see that part of that process. There was a point where they were sharing the gospel with the
Right.
people there, and
Right.
and how has that played out? I mean, I don't know if you've really tried to keep records, or if we even ought to really focus on that. But have you seen a response to that favorably toward the gospel because of that?
Typically, about 30% of the patients pray to receive Christ in the clinic. Who knows how valid that is or not?
Right.
But I have gone back to the same area years
Yeah.
later, and there are people there who are
Yeah.
active in the church who joined the church because of the eye clinic that I did
So you work with a local
3
church
years ago.
as much as possible.
Local church or a missionary.
Right.
I work with a lot of Southern Baptist missionaries.
Yeah.
And if the local church wants to plant another church, 10 miles away, they often send me to that village to do an eye clinic to help get a church plant, what we
Right.
call it, off the ground.
Right. Okay.
And so that's typically, so we basically let the local Christian leaders give us direction.
Yeah.
Where to go and all that stuff.
So-
They know their people better than we do, obviously.
Right. So from the perspective of someone who maybe lives there, maybe comes for some eye care, from their perspective, they're probably associating most of that with that local missionary or pastor.
Exactly. That's the goal, is to create goodwill for the local Christian community.
Right. And that's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
That's
Wow.
what we can do. And in a lot of third world countries, an eye exam and a pair of glasses costs a month's wages. So it's really a big deal.
Wow.
You might make $20 a month, but if it costs $20 to get an eye exam and a pair of glasses, then that's a huge deal.
Wow.
When you're struggling to get food for your family,
Right.
there's no way you're going to afford glasses.
Yeah.
So it's really a big deal to get glasses.
Yeah.
So,
We don't realize how blessed we are in this
oh,
country, do we?
Absolutely, we certainly don't. We don't, because everybody's going to need glasses if they live a normal lifespan. There's a 100% probability of needing eye care. You're not going to escape it if you live a normal lifespan.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to develop presbyopia, which is the need for reading glasses. Everybody's going to develop cataracts. And so,
Wow.
so that's why there's such a need for eye care in third world countries. There's millions of people blind today because of cataracts.
Yeah.
And there's millions of people that can no longer see to read because they have presbyopia.
Yeah.
Tens of millions, I would say, would be
Wow.
easy to. So one of the most frustrating thing about this COVID epidemic is, I had 3 mission trips lined up and about 5 seminars lined up, and all that got canceled. So that's what I thought I was going to be doing this summer, is going on mission trips and doing my seminar.
So instead of that, you came up to the church and you power washed all our sidewalks.
Right, exactly.
You did a mission trip to Westport Baptist, didn't you?
Right.
How long did that take you to do that?
About 50 hours.
50 hours, and I know you had some help.
Right, yeah. Roy Whitaker helped me do part of it.
Okay. Well,
Sure did.
I know that you were a regular fixture up here for a while.
I was. I was part of the family here for a few weeks.
A dirty part of the family too.
Right. Yeah, y'all were really clean.
Yeah.
That's true. But I got over that though.
Yeah. Wow.
It was good. But hopefully, the future just settles down and I can get back to doing my mission trips and
So do you have anything on the horizon? I mean, I know we're still kind of up in the air with what's going on.
Everything's been canceled, and who knows when it's going to open back up. So there's nothing.
Yeah.
The people, that I had the seminar scheduled with said, let's cancel and I'll contact you later.
Yeah.
Left it at that. So nothing is scheduled right now.
Right. Yeah. It's just such a hard time for a lot of people.
It is.
And
It is.
I know people are really concerned. I'm concerned. I was talking to Jimmy and Rachel Perkins yesterday, talking to Jimmy actually, and he was sharing with me that his daughter and son-in-law, the church they attend in Charlotte, that their pastor, he came down with the coronavirus and had to be put in the hospital and put on a ventilator, and he passed away. And it just seems like this week I've had nobody I personally knew, but somebody I know that knows them,
Right.
and about 3 or 4 people this week that have passed away from it. So it's kind of shaken me a little bit, to hear so many.
That's such a tragedy. The evidence now is becoming more and more overwhelming that if you give a patient the hydroxychloroquine and Z-Pak early on, when they first start showing symptoms, it's very, very effective. What they did was wait till the patient was nearly dead, then gave it to them. It didn't work. They said, well, this clearly doesn't work. And that's ridiculous. The patient was already too far gone.
Yeah.
You give it to them early on to stop the virus replication. Don't wait till they have so much virus that it's overwhelming the body's defense systems, and then give it to them, and then claim it doesn't work because the patient didn't survive.
Right.
That's just so. I'm seriously thinking about getting hydroxychloroquine and a Z-Pak just to have on hand.
Have on hand. Yeah.
So if I start showing symptoms and I start taking it immediately,
Right.
I think I think it'll have the data is just pretty impressive. The patients that take it early have dramatic improvement quickly.
Right.
And it's just such a shame that drug has been politicized.
Yeah.
Trump supported it, so it must be bad. Let's go
Yeah.
find some evidence that it's bad.
Yeah.
So millions of people, not millions, hundreds of thousands of people have died needlessly because the drug has been politicized.
Right.
It's just such a shame.
Yeah. Wow. Well, hey, I know something else. Anything else you want to say about the eye clinic missionary trips and all that, or
No, well, if anybody's listening, I'd love to train you.
Yeah.
So just
Don't miss the opportunity.
contact me.
I mean, you got the man here in the church, and he travels everywhere, training people and doing seminars, and mission groups have him, and we got him in the church, and man, that'd be a great opportunity. So
once you take the seminar, you don't need me anymore. You're totally self-sufficient.
how does somebody get their supplies?
I supply everything they need.
That must be a major
It's-
a major undertaking.
It's a pretty big deal. Yeah, I've supplied several 100,000 pairs of glasses.
How do you do that? I mean, where do you?
I get them from the Lions Club and go through them and pick out the ones that are usable, and then put them in 10 pair in a quart freezer bag, same prescription.
Uh-huh.
And so when you do the eye exam, they go to the optical area. If I determine the patient needs a -2, for example, they pull out a bag of -2s and try to find a frame that fits the patient's face.
Oh, okay.
And then give them
So it's kind of matching the puzzle pieces
yeah,
together.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so they don't have to know I determine the prescription and they determine what frame, and they adjust the frame and give the patient a plastic bag to use as a case.
Right.
And then they're all set
Right.
and they're ready to go.
Okay. Well, that's good.
So that's kind of the system. And I also designed a refraction kit that's pretty simple and pretty effective, and you can carry it in your hand. I looked all over the world trying to find a refraction kit that I could use in my seminar to train laymen, and there just was nothing available. So I designed my own.
Mm-hmm.
So the refraction system that I teach, I invented or developed. I don't know what term to use, but in my opinion, it's the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty accurate. You can see a patient in about 3 minutes, and you can carry it in your hand.
Okay.
So all you need to do an eye clinic.
We should have had you do it. Bring your stuff into a demonstration. I wish I thought of that.
Yeah. All you need to do an eye clinic using my system is that refraction kit and a flashlight.
Right.
Then you're all set.
Yeah.
So it's not like you need all this equipment, and, because when you're doing an eye exam under a tree out in the village, the last thing you want is a bunch of equipment that's hard to carry and
Right.
needs electricity, and
Right.
those are the issues that I found when I started looking for a system to use.
Right.
And so, so this system is totally self-contained, and you can do it out in the village under a tree with nearest electricity is 20 miles away.
Right. Right. Okay. Well.
So it works pretty well.
Well, let me just put in a little plug here before we close out here.
Okay.
I know that you have shared with me, and I've worked with you a little bit on it to help out a little bit on this, but you have really been working to try to get people to register to vote.
Right.
And you're not out trying to campaign for a particular candidate through this.
Right.
But as Christians, God expects us to be good stewards of the blessings that He gives us, and I think that as American citizens, we've been blessed with a great blessing from God that we get to be a part of the process of choosing our leaders.
Right.
And to fail to exercise that, I really feel like that maybe we're not being good stewards of those opportunities that God blesses us with. So I know that
Right.
you've been contacting churches and asking pastors if they would
Cooperate. with me.
cooperate and allow you to try just try to get people to register to vote.
Right.
Yeah.
The data shows in 2016, 1 out of 4 Christians didn't bother to vote.
Wow. Yeah.
25 million.
Wow. Yeah.
And that would have changed hundreds of elections around the country if they had bothered to vote.
Yeah. And as believers, if we go out and we vote our convictions, there's never going to be a candidate
Right.
that completely aligns with our values and,
Right.
and our biblical beliefs.
Right.
But what we have to look at is which one most aligns with
Right.
that,
Right.
and which system or which group best aligns with that, and trying to vote intelligently that
Right.
way.
So my plan is to just get a list of the church membership, find out the ones that are registered to vote, and the ones that are not registered to vote. And the ones that are not registered to vote, just contact them, encourage them to register, and help them with the process, give them this form they need. And October 9th is the deadline.
Yeah.
And so just ask them if they're willing to register. And if they are, I'll send them the material,
Right.
and they can just fill it out and mail it in.
Right.
So it's not a big involved process at all.
Right. So you have, and maybe there's some people in our church that here at Westport that might watch this. Maybe they're not registered to vote. What would you tell them to do?
just contact me. I'm going through the Westport membership list right now, and I'm finding several that I can't find on the Board of Elections website. And that either means that they're not registered to vote or they registered under a different name. Like if your name was Sam David Smith and you go by David here in the church, but you registered as Sam
Right.
Smith on the so I'll plan to contact those folks and say, are you registered to vote? Just under a different name. If they say yes, I'll say fine.
See, I run into the same thing at the hospitals.
Right,
You
yeah,
know,
same thing, right.
they've got a name that they use, and
Right. A
that's
nickname.
what we know them by. And I go to the hospital to visit, and
Yeah.
I ask what room they're in. They're
Yeah.
like, we don't have anybody here
Right.
but that name.
Exactly.
And with the HIPAA laws now,
Yep.
they are very stingy about
Right.
trying to help you out to figure out who it might be.
And I've discovered that is much more common in men than women.
Really?
Most
Okay.
women, because if I look for a husband and can't find it, I look for the wife, and often I find the wife.
Yeah.
So her name is Sheila Smith, and she goes by Sheila and registered as Sheila Smith. But her husband goes by a nickname or a middle name or something.
Right.
So if I find the wife is registered, I assume the husband is too.
Yeah. So if somebody's not registered to vote, they can contact you,
I'll
and
send them the material. They just have to fill it out and mail it in.
And if you don't know how to get a hold of David, you can call the church here, 704-483-1000, or send us an email, info@westport.church, and we'll be glad to get you connected with him, give you his email or phone number or whatever. So,
Right.
yeah. All right.
So I'd love to get every Baptist in churches in the South Fork Association registered to vote.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Sure I won't achieve it, but hopefully I'll get some registered.
Right. Okay. Well, you haven't really let any grass grow under your feet since you retired.
Well, I found it frustrating not to do my mission trips and everything.
Well, but I appreciate the way that you've even with that, you didn't just say, well, I'll just sit home then.
Right.
I mean, you tried to do things here around the church, and we had mentioned about maybe having somebody come up and clean some of the weeds and vines and things out of the shrubs, and I know that you were asking about that, what we needed and all. So I really appreciate your heart to serve and just to stay busy for the Lord, and not to see some task as too menial to do. So.
Well, I don't have any construction skills, so
Right.
I can't do anything difficult. So, cleaning weeds and
Right.
pressure washing is within my skill set.
Right. Yeah. So, and you even work in the nursery at the church.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Well, great. We're going to need some nursery workers coming up. So.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you'd like to share?
No, I just really excited that the ministry did take off to some degree, not as much as I had hoped, but I think reaching 1.5 million patients is better than none. For sure.
Right.
Wish it were 15 million, but
Yeah.
1.5 million is better than none.
Amen. Well, if you don't mind, why don't you pray for our church and for those that might be tuning in to watch this? And
Okay.
would you mind doing that
Sure.
for us, Smith? Okay.
Our Father, thank you this day and for all the blessings of life you give us each day. And I pray for our country, and we're going through a lot of really difficult challenges now. And I pray that your hand will be on this situation and things will settle down soon. And if anyone here is interested in doing eye clinics in third world countries, I pray that they will be motivated to contact me and let me train them. That's the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right. David, thank you for tuning in today or coming in today, and I appreciate you all for tuning in, and I hope that this is a blessing for you. And if there's anything that we can do for you here at the church, if you have a need, please do not hesitate to let us know. We've got people that have offered to step in and help if they're able to do that. So we want to be there for